Thanks for joining us today. We're diving into something that affects every one of us, often without us even realizing it. It's the way collective thought patterns, what we'll refer to as pendulums, shape not only what we believe, but what we feel, react, and even how we live our daily lives. The idea comes from reality transurfing, but you don't have to be familiar with that to understand this. A pendulum, in this context, is a kind of energetic structure made up of group thought and emotional investment. Whenever a large number of people focus on the same topic with intensity, politics, a sports team, a cultural movement, that shared energy forms an invisible field and it pulls others into it. The issue isn't that pendulums exist, they always will. The problem is what happens when we've unconsciously get swept up into them. You might think you're reacting authentically to something, but often you're responding to the emotional momentum of the group. It's like catching someone else's cold, except it's a mental or emotional cold. And here's the kicker. Pendulums feed off attention and emotional energy. So whether you're passionately for or against something, if you're emotionally charged, you're fueling that structure. That energy doesn't care if you love or hate the thing. It just needs your attention. The first step is to become aware. Are you thinking your own thoughts or echoing the collective?
Here is where awareness is everything. We live in a world where being constantly connected online, at work, in conversation, means we're also constantly exposed to energetic noise. The key is learning how to recognize what's genuinely coming from within you versus what you're absorbing from the outside. You might feel outrage, excitement, worry, or certainty about something, but unless you've taken the time to reflect on it deeply, that emotional reaction may not actually be yours. It could be a broadcast from a larger thought structure you've unknowingly tuned into. Now let's talk about how to stop feeding it. One of the most effective tools is neutralization. When we make something too important, when we place our goals, our beliefs, or opinions on a pedestal, we create resistance. That's called excess potential. And what happens to excess potential? It attracts balancing forces that push things further out of reach. We can release that pressure by seeing our goals and values as natural, not distant, not idealistic, just an extension of who we are. Instead of saying, I need this to feel okay, we say, I choose this because it aligns with who I am. That simple shift moves us out of reactivity and into conscious creation.
It also leads us to the difference between desire and intention, a distinction that's often misunderstood. Desire says, I want that because I don't have it. It focuses on the gap, the lack. Intention says, this is mine to experience. It closes the gap energetically. Intention doesn't beg, it chooses. It moves forward with clarity. If I sit here and desire to raise my hand, but never do it, nothing changes. But if I intend to raise my hand and then follow through, action is set in motion. That very same principle applies across our lives. Intention plus movement equals change. And it doesn't require willpower, it requires presence. Just like a radio turns to a station, you can tune to the version of your life that already exists, where you're in alignment, where your goals feel natural, and where your inner state is steady. You don't need to attract that version. You need to match it. And the way you do that is by adjusting your inner world, your beliefs, emotions, and self-image to align with it.
And one of the most grounded ways to do that is by listening to your heart, not just your head. The head makes to-do lists and long-term plans. It calculates, it strategizes, and that really does have its place in the world. But the heart speaks the language of feeling. It doesn't understand goals like make six figures or buy a house. It understands what those things represent: freedom, peace, security, contribution. If you're disconnected from what you genuinely want to feel, then achieving your goals won't satisfy you. That's why so many people accomplish what they set out to do and still feel empty afterwards. They followed a hex-made map and forgot to check in with the compass of their heart. So ask yourself regularly, how do I want to feel today? And what small choice aligns with that feeling? When you follow your passion, even in subtle ways, you begin to move in sync with that version of life that feels both exciting and right. And remember, you don't have to feel perfect to shift. You only have to move slightly forward, just a step or two above where you are emotionally. Baby steps. That small shift creates momentum.
And with that momentum, your perspective changes. You begin to see new possibilities, ideas, and paths that weren't even visible from your previous state of being. This is how you navigate what reality transurfing calls like tracks, the many parallel possibilities available to you. You don't have to force anything. You simply align with the version of reality where your chosen outcome already feels normal. And that comes from raising your state, not chasing outcomes, from choosing intention, not clinging to desire, from calming the noise of pendulums, not feeding them. If there's one thing to take away from today's conversation, it's this. Your energy is your power. Where you place your focus, your attention, and emotion either reinforces someone else's narrative or creates your own. Choose your own.
So, as you move through your day, at work, online, in traffic, wherever really, just ask yourself now and then, is this really mine? Is this thought, reaction, opinion, or emotion truly aligned with who you want to be? Or is it a pendulum pulling your energy into something that really doesn't serve you? The more often you pause to ask that question, the more clarity you gain, the more power you reclaim, and the more consciously and calmly you create your life.
If you found this helpful, give this video a thumbs up. It really supports the channel, and it helps more people find this kind of grounded, conscious content. And be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. We have more talks coming up to help you shift your mindset, elevate your energy, and live more intentionally.
You can also share your thoughts in the comments. What stood out for you today? We really do love to hear from you and how you're applying these ideas in your life. So thank you so much for being here. Until next time, think differently, dream boldly, and create consciously.
I'm a quiet rebel, I don't need a shower, changing the world from the inside out, no fists in the